Hello, welcome to another year at Waupaca Middle School. And here's the parent video meeting in case you missed the in-person meeting. At the end of this video, there will be a few questions for the answer just to make sure that you have the clarity and understand the expectations that as we go through the athletic and activity code. So again, thank you for being part of any athletic or activity at Waupaca Middle School, and we're excited for another school year. People may look at this slide and go, this isn't the middle school, this is high school. You are correct. However, the varsity success starts right here at the middle school. We need to build the foundations at the middle school to make sure that we are successful at the high school. And I'm not talking just in the athletic realm, I'm talking in the academic realm because that's our main importance of why we are here. So if you look at some of these teams, you know the great success they had, but on top of their great athletic success, we also have academic success. For example, our dance team and our volleyball team have a great point averages of a whole team of over 3.7. So remember, academics is one, athletics and activity is two, and the foundation starts right here at the middle school. And if you have any questions or concerns on who to get in contact with, here's a listing of three of us you can get a hold of. The activities director, his email is right there. Please feel free to give him a call. Rob will always get back to you. Ashley Brill is the secretary here right at the middle school who makes sure that everything is signed up for and you are registered and ready to go. Her email and phone number here are as well. Or you can just reach out to myself as the principal and ask any questions you have. I may refer you back to Ashley or Rob, but we will get to your answer and what you need to make sure that we are ready to go with your students in any activity or athletics that they are signed up for. And again, if you're trying to find out what events are happening and where they are occurring, if you go to the Waupaca website and you go on the top and you go to your school on the top of the district, you'll see this little thing called the calendar here. You may click on there and it will let you know what the activities and athletics are occurring, at the building and when they're taking place. But again, if you cannot find that or have trouble, please reach out to one of the people on the previous slide and we will get you to the information you need. As we start looking closer into the middle school activity code, it starts with middle school activities department vision. And here we want to develop high character individuals who pride themselves in community and earn respect from those outside of our district. So when we talk about what this vision is, it starts with the core values. And the first one of the core value is team. We always want to be an active participant. We always want to support our other teammates and work along one another to move us in the right direction. In your effort, just give it your best. Okay, you may be asked to do something you may not be the greatest at or uncomfortable, but give it your best and be out there and give us your effort because that will make us succeed. Accountability. Make sure you own your successes, but you're also owning your mistakes. That's how the accountability works. And if you own your mistakes, we can always get better with our effort and supporting our team. Perseverance. Hey, there's sometimes they're going to be tough. It's going to be hard to work through certain scenarios, but just keep on trying and trying and trying. And after a while, you will get to the success that you are looking for. That is what perseverance is. And discipline is not meant like discipline how you're thinking. Discipline is be committed to what it takes. Be committed to those practices. Do the extra work when you're not on the field. Be disciplined in those expectations that your coaches are offering. But when you're looking at those core values, that's how we build strong teams. That's how we build success within our team structure. Participant responsibilities. Here we're going to go in a lot more details than the previous slides. Remember, participating is a privilege to be in part of these co-curricular activities. The greatest responsibility is to be a credit to your team, your group, your school, family, and community. Therefore, we want to highlight a few of these responsibilities as a participant. One, display high standards of social behavior. This means inside the schools and outside of the schools. That means the co-curricular code of conduct goes year round, 365 days a year. So it's when you're out of school and in school. That's what holds this code so important to us. Display outstanding sportsmanship when you're participating and as a fan. Again, we're encouraging people. We're not cutting down people. Poor sportsmanship is not going to be allowed. Display proper respect for those in authority, including teachers, advisors, coaches, and other officials. You may disagree with a call, but you do not need to shout out and uh, be disrespectful to people around you. Dress appropriately when attending the different events and activities within it. And every school has a very particular dress expectations that you'll be following inside the school and at these events. Again, use language that is appropriate. We should not be using vulgar language at any time, and we should not be being disrespectful to other players on the court or field or at any activity at that point. And again, provide a responsible level of dedication and commitment to what we are focused on as being a Comet. Remember, this code of conduct goes outside of the school walls. So what you do outside in the community and in the public will come back to your code of conduct for participation. And as we look at that, there are a few things I also want to go over in the code of conduct that is within our building as well. And then again, it's going to academic honesty. Academic honesty is part of our board policy, and students need to make sure they're honest and then they're participating in the classroom and at these extracurricular events, as well. So stuff like plagiarism is in that code of conduct. If you're plagiarizing and you're doing work and you're copying work that is not yours, that could be directly involved with a code of conduct violation, which could have some consequences on you. And that leads into us again that artificial intelligence out there by using magic AI or school AI, all kind of stuff. If you're using information that is not yours, that is generated by a different source, that falls under the plagiarism and, of course, the academic honesty policy. So please make sure you are doing your work and you're doing the best that you can do. Again, all we ask for your best effort. We don't expect for everything to be right. And so honesty policy also falls in the disciplinary area. If you did something wrong and there's something that you know that you did wrong, come forward right away. Tell your coach, tell myself, hey, I made a mistake. The consequences are a lot less when you're open and honest with us and we can work with you. You're going to make mistakes. I say it all the time. We are going to make mistakes. Let's learn from mistakes. But if you're not honest about it, well, those consequences then tend to get a little bit more worse. And there's type of violations. There's a type 1 violation that's more of a conductual thing at school. It doesn't deal with any alcohol, drug, or anything related. And a type 2, which is not limited to, that could be alcohol, but it could be also some physical connotations and physical things here. Excuse me. And a type 3 are more of a criminal behavior, which again is a completely different realm what we're working on. And so again, the general rules for a participation in here is once competitions begin, once we have active games going on, there's no more people can join that sport or activity at that point. And again, code of conduct falls under do you have poor grades, a repeated discipline problems, a failure to attend classes, are you not following the classwork and the policies in here, or is there other reasons that your behavior is detrimental to the team? All these could fall under a violation of a code of conduct to have you removed or have time taken away from your playing time, or if you're in activity of your participating in that time. And again, this is one thing I know sometimes parents sign that waiver of not being out and about with pictures and activity. But if students are participating in an athletic or an activity in a sport, and this is subject to the school media recognition via posters, photography, articles in the school, again, they are subject to get their name put out there in a picture in there. So I just want you to make sure you're aware of that, because I know you signed kind of a waiver saying, I don't want my picture taken, but in these activities, their picture may show up on there. So I want you to make sure you're aware of that. All right. We're going to move into how to become eligible and how to register next. Eligibility rules for students in activities and athletics at the middle school is a little bit more easier than it is when you fill out the paperwork at the high school. But first of all, the most important thing is you have to have that WIA physical, which goes for 2 years, and you have to make sure you renew it within that year and every other year. And if it's not updated and don't have your physical on time, your student is not allowed to practice or participate in any of the activities or athletics in here due to liability issues. So please, the number one thing is please get that physical in and hand it in to our Secretary Ashley Brill. And make sure you sign a co-curricular policy agreement by your student and the guardian. And this usually happens at the registration with the students. You also have that concussion information, which happens at the registration of students. So these things are a little bit easier to get done here. And you can see on the bottom area down here, you can see where it says activity code. So please don't go through this. There's more details in here that I'm going over in this presentation. And again, the athletic fee. There's a certain point of time if that athletic fee is not taken care of, and then of course we are going to remove them from the competition part as well. So please get your physicals in, make sure the paperwork's filled in, and that athletic fee is paid for, and that way your student can participate in any activity and athletic that is going on at that time. Some other obligations we talk about. I mean, if a student needs to serve a detention or owes detention at time, and they don't fulfill that, then they'll be asked to be suspended from a practice of the game until that obligation is made up. So if there's outstanding work to be done, if there's outstanding behavioral things that need to be taken care of, those things need to be taken care of before the student can continue in their athletic or activity at that time. And again, like I said in the previous slide, fees and fines, students can be placed on these obligation lists for failure to pay these fees. So please make sure that everything is updated. You know where you're at. If you don't, just please feel free to email myself or Ashley Brill, and we'll get this information to you, or talk to your coach. But these are some other obligations. And next, I'll get into what those academic obligations are when we talk about how to make sure you're in good standing. The academic eligibility. Again, now that we are now in a target-based grading system in here, it's a little more complicated to have that academic eligibility because you don't have always that updated piece of percentages, which is perfectly fine. In middle school, we're willing to work around that. But with our target-based gradings, we need to have this system in place that everybody knows about, and everything is through the LMS that we call Schoology, and teachers keep everything updated on there. So how everything goes and everything is later, we want to stay in good standing. That's what we want to be, good standing. But NEs are the main thing we are looking for. And NE is that there's no evidence. The student did not try to give us any information. They may have been gone or something, but they have not met any expectation at this point. So we really focus on the NEs, how this works. A 1, the student may show little proficiency of understanding, but that could be a date and time where also the next day they get it. So we pay attention to how many 1s they have. 2 means they're getting closer, and 3 means they have made appropriate progress. So really, we'll look at it. 2s and 3s, we always be in good standings. 1, how many 1s do you have? And NEs shouldn't be out there because that means the effort is not there. So we need to come up with a new plan to make sure that the student can participate in their athletic or their activity at this time. So as we look at that eligibility piece and how do we stay in good standings? Now here at the middle school, we always want to build that what we call restorative practices. We know students will struggle academically on some new criteria, and so we want to be understanding of that piece. So we're not going to really like pull students away from academic activities. What we want to do is kind of give a little study session when they need it. So in this case, let's say some students have some NEs and some 1s in combination. What we will first attempt to do is say, hey, let's stay after school. Let's have a time to set up with your teachers, and let's work on your academics and get rid of those NEs and show that good effort of the 1s to get you to a 2. And so our first goal is just to take you out maybe for a half an hour after school out of that athletic or activity, get some one-on-one time with the teacher that you're having difficulties with the subject matter. And then once that teacher lets you go, you may head back to the activity or athletic event that is happening. Of course, this would be different, of course, if it was practice versus game day. That's totally different. But we want to focus on building the relationship. We want to build that restorative measures of how do we get you to become better? How is this going to work so we can reduce this in the future? Now, if the student decides not to show up and all that kind of stuff and is not putting forth the effort, then we move to level 2 where now we're going to be pulling the practice and all that and competitions out of the plan and work solely on the academic piece. So our first goal is to pull them out of practice for a little bit and then get them back to practice. If they are not putting forth that effort, then we're going to pull the practice and the games until we are at a 1 or 2s, in the academic world. So again, just put forth your effort, stay in good standing, and then we shouldn't have to worry about removing you from any practices or removing you from any games at that time. And if you have any questions of how you can set up with a teacher, they're available any single day. You just have to ask, when can I meet with you to get caught up? All right, now we're on to attendance. Attendance is a big thing, and so I just want to make sure we're clear on kind of what attendance means. So students appearing unexcused from a class at the beginning of the day or anything else, they are ineligible to practice. So if they're missing, they're unexcused, that means they're not eligible to practice or participate in any competition at that time. And so I want to make sure to understand this. If a student is gone, like for an appointment, a dental appointment or braces appointment or a checkup on all that kind of stuff, that's typically going to be excused by a doctor's note and saying we had an excused absence for this. There is then the student can come back and participate in practice and participate in the competition. If the student is missing for the day, is unexcused and not called in sick, or even if they've been sick the whole day, they are not eligible to participate in the practice or at a performance or event if they are not in the building at that day. And if a student's gone for like 3/4 of it, like at two till 2 o'clock, they're not eligible to participate either at that point. So please give the office a call. Make sure you get a doctor's note when you have it. We want to have everything in by 10 a.m. in the morning. Just please call the middle school office, the attendance office, and leave a message for us or talk to the secretaries up there, and then we'll make sure we take care of everything from there. So please, if you have any questions on the attendance, please reach out to the secretary staff or myself, and we can help clear this up. But attendance is very, very important, and also being on time to classes. If you're tardy for multiple classes, you may not participate this day, or you may not be pulled out from the game that day because you were not getting to class on time. So tardies and absences and being in class are number one for success. If you're here in attendance and you're in the classroom learning, therefore you shouldn't have as many academic concerns, so we can move you along in participation. So again, attendance is key for success. So when we look at the code of conduct, this is some stuff I want to get to some information before I talk about this slide a little bit. There are three different kind of codes that we look at: a type 1, a type 2, and type 3 that you can see on here. And so I want to go a little bit more. Like I said here, a type 1 is a misbehavior or offense that it doesn't include any alcohol or drugs or other related stuff like that. It's more of kind of looking at your lying, uh, you're not doing your work in class, you're forging, you're fighting, you're cheating, any school rules, you're violating the handbook. So these are the areas of violation. Number one is kind of the conduct within a school building, or maybe some stuff that happens outside of the building, again, being disrespectful in the community, may come back with a type 1. Now, being that some classes, or I should say some activities in athletics, run shorter time spans and longer, that's why we don't put days on it. We put a percent. So that way it's more beneficial to the students if we were only running a percentage versus how many games or practices you would miss, especially at the middle school, because our usually seasons are pretty short. So if you're caught with a type 1 violation, you may have a 10% suspension of the current season, which is usually about 2 games, if you want to think of it that way. And again, so that's where the percentage comes in instead of saying you're missing a long duration of time. You can have multiple type 1s throughout the year. A type 2 violation as well. Now we get to alcohol and other drug related, which is vaping as well. Vaping goes in the category number 2, with this area. So we got to make sure that any here, it goes right up to a 25% suspension of the current season. And depending if it's another, again, it goes to a second offense, I can push it up to a 50%. So again, you make a mistake, excuse me, we learn from our mistake and we continue moving on. But again, it's a quick violation here. You will lose right away 25% of your current season due to a type 2 violation. A type 3 violation gets into very severe information or problems. And so this getting into theft, vandalism, hazing, possession of drugs or alcohol, maybe even hosting a party at your house. Well, this is more of a more severe thing. So I know this is middle school, but things like this have shown up and why we want to talk about it. In this case, if you're found guilty of a type 3, you could be out for 3 consecutive seasons. You could be out for a year and a half of your sports and athletics due to these major things. So again, way back, what you do outside the school buildings do have impact on what happens inside the school building when it comes to athletics and activities, because we are representing the Comet family and we want to make sure we are respectful to our name and give off, when we go to places, a positive community vibe. So again, please, these are very basic: type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1 is more around the school. Type 2 is with drugs, alcohol, and vaping, all that kind of stuff. And 3 is more criminal acts that could happen outside of our building as we go forward. So please make sure you're doing the right thing all the time, 365 days a year. So here we have gone through a couple more things with the code of conduct. We've kind of went over the honesty policy that does honesty with your academics as it is behavior. So just hold yourself accountable in all areas. Make sure you're following the dress expectations within the building. They are clearly outlined and have been emailed home to everybody at this point. The co-curricular code meeting, either you came in person or you're watching this video, and then sign up for that. Again, I would go into this activity code of conduct, which is in that lower link down here in the red. If you're interested in multi-sports per season, please, you need to reach out to Rob and talk to him so you can get the coaches on board with that. And if you don't agree with something, there's also the appeal procedures within the athletic code of conduct on here too. So I just want to make sure you're aware of things that are in the code of conduct booklet that's attached here. So if you have any questions, you always refer back to the activity code. Now, a lot of things we have talked about is how does a student follow the athletic code and make sure they are participating and eligible in activities and athletics. But we also got to make sure that we're a fan on the parent side. Me, I've been a coach for many years. I have played competitive sports as well. And so, as a coach, I always say, hey, parents, you're here to enjoy, you're here to encourage, you're here to be a fan. Support the players, support the coach. And so that's what we're here to do. So when we look at a fan, if you're in there again, be a fan, cheer everybody on. Again, the same thing. We don't need any, bad language. We don't need anything bad sportsmanship coming from the stands either. So be a fan, support your kids, support the athletes, support the coach. I mean, he's doing their best and she is doing their best, to make sure that all athletes and activity people are getting what they feel are best on here. So encourage them. Be a role model of something goes wrong. Not everything's going to go right. There are plenty of times where I've been, and the officials sometimes make bad calls, where I've been on that scene. It's like, that's a really bad call. But as a coach, I need to act it differently because I didn't want to get the parents coming out, either. So there are going to be bad calls, okay? And we got to get over it. Hopefully they're equal on both sides, but we need to have that good sportsmanship. And we need to, stand up and just continue cheering, and cheering. And the bottom, support the team. That's what we're here to do. And if you start saying negative things, they're going to get negative vibes on what they're doing in an activity or athletic, and it's going to bring the team down. We want to build the team up. We're always rising up. So again, if you're going to be a fan, if you're going to be in the audience, please continue to encourage and cheer them on. And that's what we need to do. So again, this is pretty broad on that one, but I think everybody understands where I'm going. However, there are times where we may not agree, and that is perfectly fine. We have to find a way to agree to disagree on stuff like that. But let's make sure we follow kind of the chain of command that happens, because there'll probably be issues that we need to clarify. That's fine. We have no problem doing that. But I want to make sure we follow the chain of command. First, before, during, after a game or practice, it's not appropriate. So set up a time. Don't do it right before the game. Don't during the game, and right after the game, not a good time either. Set a time up to contact the coach. So if you call me right away, you see I'm step 3, that right now you should be saying, hey, I'm going to go have you talk to the coach. And you say, no, I'm like, well, that's the first step. Let me help you arrange a meeting with the coach. And if you go, I talked to the coach. Okay, did you talk to the athletic director? No. Okay, let me set up a meeting with the athletic director and we can get to everything hopefully solved by that point. So step 1 and step 2 doesn't happen. Then step 3, say, hey, Mr. Meyer, I've been to the athletic director, been to the coach, nothing's happening. What can you do? Well, I'm going to hold the other 2 accountable, and we're going to make sure we get to the bottom of it. And of course, if I don't do my job, then you go to the superintendent. And then finally, if none of us, step 1 through 4, are working, that's when you get the school board involved. I'm not saying we're trying to say the school board is not the most important thing. But again, if they follow the chain of command, these are the steps we want to follow to make sure that it doesn't reach anything and get blown out of proportion. So please meet with the coach, athletic director, and principal. Out of those 3, I guarantee we'll have the problem resolved at that point. So again, please follow the chain of command if you have any problems or concerns of what is happening in the activity or the athletic event. And finally, transporting students. This is always come up with field trips or activities and athletics as well. All students must ride the bus to all their events. Now, there's a small scenario that may pop up on this, like, hey, I took my student to go to an appointment in Appleton. I left at noon. I'm up here now. Can I just take my student to the event that's in Appleton? Okay, please contact Rob or myself, and that's understandable. But any other way, students must ride the bus to all the events on here. So here are some scenarios. In approved circumstances, only the parents or direct guardians can transport their children home from the events from a signed waiver form. So sometimes what happens at events, like you have an AB or A team, B team, or it's off and on, hey, we need to leave early. Can we take our student with us? You sign a waiver form, you hand it over to the coach or the advisor, and that's not a problem. You may take your student home at that point. Now, only the parent, not sister, not brother, not aunt, not grand, only the parents are allowed to take their student home from an event, and only their students. Now, last year I know we had some buses issues, but hopefully those are going to be resolved. But if there are no buses, then you would only transport your own children unless student transportation form is completed. Hopefully, we'll have no issues with this year. So, if no buses, then we can get into other scenarios with that. We strongly encourage that your students, though, do travel when all possible, the events, going to the game or event and coming back. That builds that team, that builds that collaboration, that builds that just that, that overall team concept, which helps support one another. So these are some scenarios. The big thing is all participants need to drive or be on the bus to all events and activities and field trips on the way there. So that's always been a question, and that's wanted to make sure that is all cleared up with that. Well, thank you very much for listening to my presentation. In person is probably a little better. I did my best on this video. Remember, there are a few questions at the end that we need to answer to verify that you actually watched this video to make sure everybody is ready to go. If you have any questions or concerns after this video that I have not answered or have not been clear with, please reach out to myself or Ms. Brill or Rob, and then we can address those as you're needed. So, but my phone is always open. My door is always open. Feel free to come in at any time. And as we always say, as the theme always goes, when we're here at the Waupaca Activities and Events, is always go Comets!